They say things only get better with age, and that's something I agree with. But one area that many of us struggle with as we age is makeup. What to buy, how to apply it, how to make it last. So we are kicking off today's show sharing makeup techniques for mature skin, helping you combat extra texture, fine lines, and looser skin. Studio 5 style and beauty contributor Megan Moore says it all boils down to one thing: pre-blending your makeup.
Yes, pre-blending.
Never done this, Megan.
I think I made this phrase up, but maybe I didn't. I don't know. But so to help you kind of conceptualize this concept, yes. I want you to do an exercise with me, okay? So first I want you to visualize in your head a slab of marble, okay?
Beautiful.
Beautiful marble. It's cool, it's cold, it's a very even texture, right? There's not a lot of dips in it, there's not a lot of porosity, and it's very smooth. Now imagine I took a paint bucket and I dumped paint all over this marble. I could very easily spread that paint out. I could use my hands, I could use a roller, I could use a brush. I could spread that paint out over the surface and get a really beautiful, even finish on the marble, right?
Indeed, yes.
Okay, now I want you to visualize a slab of concrete, okay? So concrete's been through the works, it's been through the weather, right? It's got lots of texture, it's got bumps, it's got open pores, it's got fine lines, right? And if I were to pour that same paint on this, it would be much harder to spread it out, right? The paint would soak into the pores, it would soak into the fine lines, it would grab right where I pour it, and then it would be really hard to evenly spread it everywhere else,
yes,
right?
and it'd be splotchy.
It would be so splotchy, okay? So I hate to break it to us, but we are concrete, right? So when we are about 40 and older, I'd like to give this visual: we are concrete. And if we try to apply makeup like we did when we were 20, when we were marble, it's not gonna be the same results, right? We have to work harder, we need to work smarter, not harder, to kind of combat the concrete that we have become, right?
Oh, mamma mia. Okay, we are concrete sisters, and you're here to show us you have some things. So I have never done this before, so I'm interested. Show me how to do it.
So this concept is really unique, I think, for a lot of people. It's called pre-blending, and the idea is that we preload our brush or our sponge or whatever it is with our makeup really evenly first before it ever touches our face.
Okay.
Think about when we roll on paint on a wall, we preload that roller, right? We don't take the paint and dump it on the wall
and then try to spread it out.
And then try and spread it out. We preload the tool, and it's the same concept here, right? So I like to do this on an acrylic mixing palette like this one. It's like essentially like a paint palette, right? You can also preload onto your hand, onto your palm of your hand. Lots of people do it different ways. So the idea is that I'm going to take, say my foundation, and I'm going to evenly distribute it into my brush here first before it ever touches my face. The work is already done, the pre-blending is already done for me. Then when I go up to my face and I go and tap it on, I can so easily distribute the product, and I'm gonna use far less, and I'm not gonna have those grab spots, right? So I can just tap it on, I can blend it in, it's already done for me, and I'm gonna use like about half the amount of product.
Okay, I think that's good to know because product's expensive. Also, the other thing that I think of is, okay, I need to have the right brush then.
Yes, you do wanna have a good brush, and it can be a sponge too. It doesn't have to be a brush, but whatever it is, if we evenly load this ahead of time and then put it on, the work is already done, the blending is already done, right? This is like a foreign concept, but then you're like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
It totally makes sense,
right?
Megan making sense. Okay, so we preload the foundation.
Now this is the biggest one, concealer. I think I see this all the time. People go into their concealer and they go straight from this thing.
I did it just this morning.
You end up using way more, and that is where creasing happens. Okay. So instead, front load your brush. Okay, so I've got my concealer here. I'm gonna evenly distribute it onto my brush. I like a really fluffy, almost like a eyeshadow brush.
This is like mine, so I'm proud of myself.
Then all I have to do is kind of skim it over the surface. I'm gonna use far less product. All I'm worried about here is correcting color. I can't correct texture. I can't change texture with product. It's not possible. So instead, I'm just gonna use a really light hand, a really light touch, and just skim that product over the top, and then I'm not gonna run into creasing problems because I didn't use too much product.
And we're gonna save money because we're not using as much product.
And we can always blend again with our secondary fairy brush, but yeah, I mean, like, just so quick, so easy, right? This concept makes sense.
We definitely do foundation. We do concealer. I'm seeing some blush.
There's some blush, there's some contour. Let's go into contour first. So again, I'm gonna take this, and if I were to just put it on here and evenly distribute it, I can do that. It's gonna be a lot stronger, but what I love to do is actually take this and put it back into my foundation. I'm gonna marry the two together. It's gonna soften my bronzer, but it's also gonna give it more coverage. So I get a 2-for-1 when I do that, okay? So then I can just go in and I can softly kind of skim the surface, adding my color, but it's already blended. I didn't put in a harsh line that a lot of times you see like beauty influencers do.
Yes.
They'll draw a contour line on. Then I have to go in and buff that out. So I don't even have to do that, right? It's
well, not only that,
buffed.
I saw a TikToker the other day, and she had put on her highlighter and left it too long before she tried to blend it.
And
she couldn't. Talk about concrete. She couldn't blend it at all, so this makes better sense.
And then blush, same thing. If I go into my blush and I kind of pre-distribute it onto my palette here, if I leave it full strength, it's gonna be full strength, so that's a great option. Or I can marry it again with my foundation up here and soften it, right?
Okay.
So that blending's already been done for me. Again, this is gonna save so much time. I skim it over the surface. I get this beautiful pop of color. Took about 5 seconds and it's already blended, right? Is that not amazing?
Have you copyrighted this idea? Because I think it's novel. I think we all need to know about it. We all need to be doing it. And you said you can do it on your hand, but your preference is this acrylic palette.
I like this because then I can really get things married together really nicely, but you can certainly do it on your hand. These are super cheap. You don't need to spend a lot on them. People do it with a glass palette.
Just
There's
use your old screensaver from your phone.
Whatever surface, just make sure it's clean. But yeah, it just is so easy to kind of mix it together. And then once I apply it on the face, the blending's done, right? Just amazing.
She's enlightened all of us today, and she looks great doing it.
Oh, thanks.
You have a big giveaway going on.
Yeah, I'm gonna give away 5 of the palettes and these little mixing spatulas that you can use to get product out of jars. I'm gonna give 5 away of them on my Instagram. So come find me there at Beauty Snoop.
Beauty Snoop, you heard it here. Thanks so much, Megan.
You betcha.